Ah, so, hello everybody, this is Kiara. Once again, we have a Facebook Live meditation. It's April 18th, 2020. So, welcome everybody, wherever you are in this world. And so grateful and joyful that we can share these times together. We're creating like an incubator on a planetary level through which perhaps something new can be birthed. We're connecting with the heart of Gaia in ways that we may not fully understand with the rational mind, but which is something that is emerging day by day in a great mystery, which is also at the same time deeply liberating, heartwarming, and beautiful. I want to go back to an Inca prophecy, and they often refer to a time of change, of transformation that they call the Pachacuti, the reversal. What that means is it's like a turning upside down, or if something has become upside down, then it's a turning right side up. So this Pachacuti is like a complete reversal of paradigms, of worldviews, of states of being or consciousness, and so we can become awakened, so we can become who we are meant to be. And so many of the prophecies have to do with this time, and they're very clear that this time has come. The Quero people from the Andes are emerging now, along with many other indigenous people around the world, in the rainforests of Brazil, in the mountains of Colombia, the Aboriginal people in Australia, and across the world, many Native American tribes, the Celtic people, and the deep forests where they've been holding this wisdom are coming forward now. They're telling us that we are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the rainbow warriors. We are the ones that are the guardians and protectors of Gaia. And once this awakening begins to happen, then nothing can stop this. So the Incas talk about moving from the third level of consciousness into the fourth level and then the fifth level of consciousness. And I'd like to explain what that means. The third level of consciousness has to do with a state of duality. I am right, someone else, everything else is wrong. So it's like a very narrow, very limited worldview based on rationalization, based on specialization. And I'm convinced that what I think, what I believe is right, and that what someone else believes, if it opposes my worldview, is therefore wrong. This worldview leaves us very open to vulnerability, to fear, to being threatened, and unfortunately this is the worldview that's pervaded human history for many hundreds of years. And if we look at the wars of aggression and greed and ownership of resources and land and ideas, all this has to do with us, our very limited awareness of reality. And so this is what they refer to as the third level of consciousness, duality. And then we start moving into the fourth level of consciousness. And many people around the world are beginning to open up to this, where we can see that reality is not so much about something that exists externally out there, but is a perception. It's a perception we hold. And it's not more right or less right than someone else's perception. Therefore, it's like widening our perceptions, our perspectives, so we can include other points of view, other realities, other people, going beyond the personal self, and in fact going beyond the middle world of the rational mind. So this is something we're beginning to do more and more across the earth right now. More people are awakening. A lot of this happens by confronting our fears, confronting our limited realities. Like in that movie Matrix, taking the red pill when it's needed, when it's necessary, and realizing that our fears are simply an illusion based on a third level of consciousness. Then we move on to the fifth level of consciousness. And here we step into more of a state of oneness. And what do I mean by oneness? It's not necessarily living in a spiritual state of ecstatic unity with all things, although that often is a part of it. But it's about bringing this consciousness, this multidimensional perception into the midst of daily life. So when we look at the external realities of life from this lens of perception, then it changes life around us. This perception has the power to actually transform, to transmute external realities, both within ourselves and also externally. You begin to recognize that you're not separate from the world around you. You're not separate from your internal world. As we face our shadows, as we face our fears, we are opening up to the gift behind this. And this gift has to do with the ability to transform, to transmute those fears and step into mastery. So this is something that's emerging now, as the Incas say, as the seeds of the third and fourth level of consciousness begin to sprout, we are stepping into a fifth dimensional state of consciousness, which begins to permeate across the earth. And this is the hope that we've been awaiting, for peace, for harmony, for beauty, for oneness, for the new earth. This is what Gaia is about. Gaia is community. Gaia is where all species of life have a voice, have something to contribute, and something to receive from the whole. And we become protectors and guardians for Gaia, for those who don't have a voice of their own. So as we move from third level to fourth level to fifth level consciousness, we also find ourselves moving out from fear towards courage, towards trust, towards wisdom. Ultimately, at the fifth level of consciousness, we find that there's no fear. There's a state of fearlessness based on ultimate trust. We're not trapped in a narrow perception of ourselves, of personal safety, of personal identity. We're able to go beyond that into a planetary identity, and a sense of self that includes aspects of a being that we don't normally pay attention to: the heart, the soul, the spirit, where we are already in contact with the universe. We connect with different levels of the mind beyond the rational mind, and this is where we experience ourselves as a power and a source much greater than what we can bring through from simply the rational state of consciousness. So this is our journey, and what the Incas say is that, and this is what all indigenous people and all mystics and all traditions have been repeating over and over again, reminding us over and over again, that this time has come and that we must courageously step into those planetary initiations. We can do this. This is what we're here for. And this is why we chose to be born at this time of shift. Each one of us here is a warrior. For each of us, this may mean something different. It doesn't necessarily mean, going out there waving a sword or, becoming an activist. But what is our personal role in this journey of life? Listening for that. For some of you, it may have to do with discovering your inner gifts for writing, for painting, for explaining, for scientific inquiry, for discovering new technologies that can serve the whole, energies that are based on zero-point technologies or synergistic technologies or inner technologies. When we begin to connect with inner technologies, we discover the next level of initiation beyond the fifth level even. When the Incas say that once we connect with that sixth level of consciousness, we discover that everything that we've been dependent on the outside is available to us on the inside. And this is a place of true mastery and power, true creativity and wisdom, where we're no longer bound by anything outside of us that we can give our power over to. At this point, there's total, absolute fearlessness and empoweredness. So this is our journey. When Sri Aurobindo speaks about the supramental force, the supramental descent, I think he's referring at this point to that sixth level of consciousness, where that force of unity is strong enough that it can break through our perceptions of duality in such a way that it becomes very, very cellular, that it becomes in some way intrinsic to our very nature, to our very being, to our very perception of life. Not once we step into that, there's no turning back. So that's a journey. It's a journey of fearlessness, and it's an initiatory journey of power. So by power, I'm not referring to power over, but power to be all that we are, power to achieve, power to remember, power to embody, power to live our creative truth, power to reflect the divine light. This is what all the world teachers have been sharing with us across the ages. And this is what we all remember on the inside as we simply open up. So, with that, let's go into our morning meditation or evening meditation, wherever you happen to be. So, once again, each time we open the doorways to the upper world, to the lower world, as we merge these levels of consciousness and awareness with the personal self, with the middle world, we find that we become wider and that the doorway stays open for longer. We no longer are so stuck in the fearful aspects of the middle self. We start coming out of that third level of consciousness. It's an organic process, and as we connect with each other energetically and spiritually, it simply becomes part of our unfoldment. Things are changing, moving very, very quickly these days. Everything that we see around us becomes a catalyst for this transformation, because what we hear as warriors of light is not so much to confront something on the outside, so much as to confront the shadows on the inside. And from that place, things happen naturally and effectively. So to be a warrior means to confront our fear. To be a warrior means to go beyond our perceptions of limitation, our perceptions of the matrix that we have learned to identify with. Alright, so let's begin again by first connecting with the bubble. And this bubble represents the boundaries of the middle world, the boundary of the personal self. This is the starting point of the third level of consciousness in the Inca tradition. And we're beginning now to journey out from duality and into a perception of oneness. By oneness, I simply mean the ability to be multidimensional, to not see things so rigidly, not be so quick to judge, to condemn, you see with the eyes of the heart, see reality as it is. Not through the lens of our conditioning, our perceptions based on belief systems, based on fears. And so we open that window now. So directly over the top of this bubble, feeling this incredible force of light pouring in like a giant waterfall through all the four lower bodies represented by the bubble. Vibrant electrical force of light, clearing out hucha, releasing fear, limited ideas and beliefs, emotional traumas, and simultaneously noticing the response from the earth, magnetic forces moving up from deep within the earth, coming up through the feet, up through the four lower bodies, out to the sky. Powerful, deep, healing, nurturing energies, feeling and connecting with the earth as a living consciousness, as the Great Mother. A reflection of the Great Cosmic Mother, Mother Earth. Receiving that unconditionally loving energy through every cell of the body, transmuting the hucha wherever it may be held in any corner of our consciousness. Remembering who it is that we are. So as these two forces continue to move back and forth, the cosmic energies moving downwards, earth energies moving upwards, these electrical and magnetic forces interweave together. So we connect with the fifth body, the causal body, the realm of the soul. Begin to feel this great expansion. And all you do is keep that window wide open and simply allow these intelligent forces to weave together. So you're connecting with your natural self, what's already pre-existing. Feel yourself expanding further and further out across the earth. Joining with all the forces of nature, the elemental forces of fire, earth, of wind and water, of ether and prana. Connecting with the great ocean of plasma that pervades the entire universe, dancing across electrical filaments, connecting galaxies and clusters of galaxies out to the very extent of time and space. Feel that interconnectedness as you continue to expand further and further out across solar systems and galaxies, across universes, across time and space, out to the eternal self that I am. Here within this unified space, allow yourself to remember who you are. The one spirit moving through all things, manifesting through physical creation, embodying as a human soul at this time in history on this planet called Earth, creating the emotional, mental, physical bodies to express your humanness. While at the same time remembering that which you've always been, that infinite consciousness as the eternal self. And this infinite consciousness, as it embodies, as it penetrates through these four bodies, begins to awaken a memory deep within the cells. Deep within our DNA. Deep within the DNA of the earth as an evolving consciousness. Everything we do comes from this place of being, of knowing. As we enter deeper and deeper into the space of being, we find ourselves connecting as one heart, all of us sharing this time and space together, all the ones that we've called in from across the galaxies, across dimensions, to support this evolutionary journey. You send this unified light out across the earth, wherever it may be needed at this time. And simply as we hold this intention, there's a clearing out of ancient hucha. The collective force of duality that's ruled our human experience for so long. As we move past the experience of separateness and duality within human consciousness, we find ourselves connecting deeper and deeper with the heart of Gaia, with its living consciousness, this web of all life, as one single beating heart. One single pulse of life, connecting all things across the earth. Connecting with the perfection of all things. This perfection is what we are embodying as we move from third to fourth to fifth level consciousness, and then even beyond. The sixth level consciousness we can glimpse now is about becoming a creator. What does that mean? What are we creating? What do we wish to create? We've created enough illusion, enough suffering. Can we move beyond that? To create new possibilities of life and freedom. Operating according to the principles of divine perfection. So each of you just put your own intentions, your own heart's desires, your own visions for the new earth. For this time of Pachakuti, the turning around. Many of you have been speaking about shifts that you're experiencing in your bodies, in your consciousness, moving out of old vibrations of separation or fear into this very new place. A bit unexpected, a bit vulnerable. A place of fearlessness, a place of ecstasy, a place of remembrance. Watching your body respond to this new awareness, going through whatever adjustments are needed within the nervous system, within the energy bodies, and within the immune system. I would love to hear from you if you wish to share something of your experiences, if you have questions or comments you wish to make. I also want to remind you that we will be doing a webinar. All the details are on the website. In May, it will be 5 days of learning to enter into these realms. And to keep that window open in daily life. So meanwhile, see you next Monday, same time. And continue holding this space of stillness as long as you wish. Blessings and love.